I hate spending money, especially on something like clothes. I never know how long they're actually going to fit me. Like, do you see how oversized this shirt is? People are constantly asking me why it's so oversized, why I can't just buy clothes that are my regular size. It's because I can't. I don't know how long they're going to fit me. I mean, they fit me now, but are they going to month? My weight fluctuates so fast that I don't have all this money to be buying a new wardrobe every month. It sucks.
At least jeans are just getting too tight, or I'm just getting fat. It's been a year since I've been cheering, and I haven't lost any weight. All these other cheerleaders are walking around losing weight like that. But me, no. I still have my hips and thighs, and yeah, that gets the guys' attention and everything, but that's all that does. It just gets the guys' attention. They don't see me for me.
Hey guys, my name is Emily Llewellyn. I'm a freshman here at Frostburg. This is my first year in the BURG Peer Education Network.
Hi everyone, my name is Aaron Pan. I'm currently a sophomore here at FSU, and this is my second year in peer education.
And tonight we will be your educators for the Do You See What I See program, which is a presentation that deals with body image, eating disorders, and how to help yourself or a friend if you're affected by it.
My dad used to always tell me, don't worry about anything, I got your back, I'll be here for you. But then as soon as he got that bottle in his hand, he was a totally different person. He would come in my room at night and hit me. He would call me names like fat, ugly, and stupid. I mean, I laugh because you gotta laugh to keep from crying, right? I mean, that's how I hid my pain. But now that I'm in college, I hide my pain by eating and then throwing it right back up.
My family was never the healthiest, and I knew that I'd never want to fall into that trap. I mean, once I became more active, I actually loved the way that I looked. And, I mean, my mom worked a lot, so she was never really around to see when I began my change. And, I mean, I had to work everything around her schedule because I couldn't risk her stopping my weight loss before it could even begin.
My parents are unbearable. They were always the center of attention. Dad was the quarterback of his football team. Mom was the head cheerleader. Even my brother is the co-captain of the soccer team. So how did I end up with a body like this? They're constantly on me about not doing well enough in school or not being active enough. Nothing I ever do is good enough for them. They always tell me I have room for improvement. I never do a good job. It's always, I think you can improve on this. Constantly on my back. It's, ugh.
What is body image? Body image is the way that you see yourself when you look in the mirror. It's the idea in your head that you have of yourself and as a person. Do you have an accurate perception of how you look in the mirror, or is it negative and distorted?
Positive body image. It's looking in the mirror and being proud of what you see, despite the imperfections or whatever weight you are, whatever shape you are. It's also realizing that how you are on the inside, how kind, creative, intelligent, isn't reflected by how you look on the outside.
If an individual has negative body image about themselves, this individual might seem distorted in the mirror. When they look in the mirror, they might not see themselves for as they really are. They are misinformed of their shape, size, and possibly weight.
Of course I eat when I'm stressed. You know, who doesn't? So my parents are constantly on my back for not doing well enough or not meeting their standards. It just makes me want to eat more. You know, it got to the point where I wouldn't touch food in front of my parents. I would just go to my room and eat by myself. And I wouldn't dare eat in school. Couldn't let all the other kids see the way I eat, as if they didn't have enough to make fun of me for already.
My favorite meal to eat was a double cheeseburger, no onions, a large fry, and a medium drink. Talking about obese America, right? Of course I threw that back up. You know how many calories that is? Even as I made my own food, I would still throw it back up. I mean, who wants all that calories in them? Like, nobody. occasionally at school I would, throw up lunch and breakfast, but not all the time because then people would begin to notice. I mean, then that's when I started to feel the reality of my illness, but I just didn't know how to stop it. I was obsessed with the beats and I just didn't know what to do.
I was always so tired. And I'd wake up at 5:30 a.m. every day just to do push-ups. And I mean, my arms were so sore, but I was up to 600, but of course I pushed for 700 because, gotta burn more fat. And then of course I wouldn't eat any breakfast, and then all I had for lunch was half of a turkey sandwich. And I mean, it was hard to ignore my stomach, but it's what I had to do. And all those chicken patties and those tater tots that the cafeteria served, there's no way I could eat any of that. I mean, it'll just make me gain more weight, and I couldn't risk it. I was looking so thin.
Alright guys, so I want to ask you a question. How many of you guys in the audience have ever owned a Barbie doll or a G.I. Joe action figure? Show of hands. Alright, so the media clearly has some effect on everyone's perception. I know, when I was a kid, I wanted to look like G.I. Joe, but a study showed that if G.I. Joe was a real person, he would be stronger than any man that has ever lived. And another girl from, I cannot remember college, but she did a study on Barbie, and if she was actually proportional in real life, she would not be able to stand out. So this just shows how the media can play a role on adolescents in America.
Every day we're bombarded by images, whether it's billboards, magazines, commercials, posters. We see them everywhere. But we as a society don't realize how much those pictures are changed and distorted to make the models and celebrities look the way that they do. We're going to show you guys a video that displays just how much people are changed whenever they go into advertisements.
Changed her face so much. Didn't look like that in the beginning at all.
I know, it's shocking, isn't it, to think that... Oh, yes, go ahead.
It's like an impossible ideal of beauty. It's like impossible to reach.
It is. It's shocking to think that what we think are people in magazines aren't really people. They're the products of makeup artists, hairstylists, professional photographers, fashion designers, and Photoshop.
My best friend Diane came to me one day and said, "Jackie, are you okay? You look sick." And I said, "Yeah, girl, I'm fine. Why are you all up in my business?" And she asked the question again. And I said, "If you were really my friend, you wouldn't keep asking me this question. I am okay. I mean, it's just that between school and family, I just been stressed out."
Finally, high school graduation. Finally. College meant freedom from my parents. I was finally going to be on my own. I could be in charge of my own life. And at first, it was great. I got really close to my roommate. He was on the tennis team, so he had me eating right. He had me, exercising. For the first time in my life, I was feeling healthy. I was actually happy.
I hated going to the doctor's office. I mean, the nurses would take my weight and then still would look at me as if I still wasn't good enough. I mean, I definitely agreed with them. And then when the doctor would finally come in, he looked at me and he
1950s, it changed. It became the Maryland standard after Marilyn Monroe. And then again, in the 1960s, it completely flipped. Does anybody here know who Twiggy is? Twiggy was a famous model in the 1960s who was acclaimed for being stick thin. And then again in the 1990s, it was changed. Everyone wanted a small waist and a big bust. It also changed for men. During the Victorian era, the common male image was tall, lean, and angular. But as the years went by, men decided they needed to be bigger and stronger and more muscular.
Some effects of negative body image on an individual can be pretty severe. This individual may develop some increased isolation. The individual may have lower self-esteem. The individual also might have the risk of developing depression.
My mom and I actually went to dinner one night. But you know, of course, I ordered the smallest meal possible because I knew I was just going to go home later and work out anyway. And then, of course, as we were eating, my mom finally took notice that, I picked around my food and I didn't touch it anymore, and that really annoyed me. Why would my mom care now how I ate or even how much I ate?
Diane hadn't talked to me in weeks. I mean, I could see all my relationships going down the drain. And that was fine because they were my real friends anyway. And my mom came to me one day and said, whatever you're doing, you need to stop. Because I can tell how weak you look. And I thought to myself, it's been months since this has been going on. And you're just now starting to notice? So I just yelled at the top of my lungs. There is nothing wrong with me. Everyone just needs to mind their business. The world will be such a better place.
Like I said, at first, it was great. But as the semester went on and finals were just a few weeks away, I started to get a little bit stressed out. But what sent me over the edge was the thought of having to go back home in a few weeks. Back under my parents' roof. Back listening to their rules. Back having them constantly putting me down. So I quit going to the gym. I didn't have time. I had to be in my room studying. If I went home without straight A's, I would never hear the end of it. And at first it was good. I was getting a lot of homework done, so I was doing well on my tests. And to reward myself for all the studying that I was doing, I would binge myself. Total binge after a hard test. I would feel so awful the next day from all the fat that was in my body that I ended up skipping class, which put me behind because then I had to teach myself the material. I was just getting more and more stressed out. I didn't know what to do with it.
The first eating disorder we're going to talk about is anorexia nervosa, otherwise known as anorexia. Anorexia affects 1 in 200 women and 1 in 800 men in the United States. And it is when somebody refuses to maintain more than 85% of their body weight. They also have this intense fear of gaining weight or eating too much, and they have to count every calorie. By medical standards, there is no certain look for anorexia. When we think anorexia, we think stick thin, look sickly, pale, but there's no specific look. There are also multiple consequences of anorexia, including hair loss, infertility, loss of menstruation, damage to your heart, kidney, and if it goes untreated long enough, eventually death.
My roommate started noticing my eating habits. He stopped me one day. He's like, "Brock, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "I noticed the way you eat after a test. It's not healthy for you." And you know what he said to me? He was like, "Maybe you should go talk to a counselor. I heard about this eating disorder that you might have." I looked at him. I laughed through my frustration. I looked at him and I said, "I wish I had an eating disorder. If I had an eating disorder, I wouldn't look like this. I'd be stick thin. I'd be athletic. I would be healthy. What I have isn't an eating disorder. What I have is stress. He just would not let up. And it was really frustrating because I thought for the first time in my life I had one person on my side. One person that was going to let me live my life. Someone that wasn't going to constantly down my throat to improve myself or that I wasn't good enough. Turns out I was wrong.
I had a parade to march because I was in the middle school band. And I thought it'd be the perfect opportunity, get some cardio in, all that marching and whatnot. And of course I didn't eat anything because, I thought it'd make me gain weight and I'd lose my weight slower. So, I did the parade, and then after the parade I actually got to go camping with my family. And it was Halloween weekend. I obviously knew I wasn't going to eat any type of candy, I wasn't going to eat anything. So instead of eating candy, I handed it out instead. Anytime us family members got together for dinner and whatnot, I'd pick around everything and play with it and not eat it. Honestly, I really did not like how my grandmother was there.
The only place I felt comfortable was over the toilet bowl. I don't know where I was this one time, but I was passed out in the bathroom, and people were walking past me like no one offered help, and actually that relieved me because if strangers didn't see that anything was wrong with me, that I didn't have a problem, then I guess I really don't have a problem. I guess I'm just fine.
Bulimia nervosa is a very serious eating disorder. Binging is defined as eating a large amount of food in one sitting. Typically, it is then followed by purging, which an individual will make themselves vomit to get rid of the food they just ingested. Keep in mind that a person, depending on their looks, they might not look like they have bulimia, but it still is possible. Bulimia nervosa, some of the consequences are type 2 diabetes, heart disease, erratic heartbeat and heart damage, and it can even lead to death. Compulsive eating is also known as binge eating. This is where an individual will eat large amounts of food also in one sitting. It's not always followed by purging them. Often the individual will not exercise, and the person may be typically overweight, but that's not always the case also. Some of the consequences are increased risk for type 2 diabetes, heart disease, damage to your heart, and possibly death.
So it was my third year going back to college, and I was excited for a fresh new start. And I moved off campus, so I was by myself day in and day out. That's how I liked it. I didn't need any friends, especially because I was so consumed with going to the bathroom. It's like it became automatic. Like I didn't have to stick my finger down my mouth and go, if you need to throw up. As soon as I went to the bathroom and stuck my face over the toilet bowl, it just happened.
My roommate wouldn't let up. So eventually, just to get him off my back, I agreed. I would go talk to a counselor just so he would quit bugging me. I just sat in the room, listened to this old man, another person in my life trying to control me. Until he started saying a few things. He told me that some common symptoms were eating alone, or not eating in public, or totally binging yourself when you're stressed. I started to realize that maybe I did have a problem. Maybe what was going on with me wasn't my fault. And maybe I could get help for it.
I'd finally become very fit. But of course my mom wouldn't leave it alone. Had to go to the doctors yet again for my weight. The nurse weighed me, and believe it or not, I got down to 79 pounds. And then all the nurses looked at me so odd. Everyone that walked by me would go into my room. I sat down across from my mom in the waiting room and waited for our doctor, and the minute he came in, he looked over at me, and he looked over at my mom, but he looked back at my mom and said that if I continued my current actions, everything that I'd been doing, he couldn't keep me alive anymore. He said that to my mom, so
dysmorphic disorder called muscle dysmorphic disorder. This is actually the one body image disorder that affects more men than it does women. Individuals with muscle dysmorphic disorder don't think that a certain aspect of their body, whether it's their abs, their triceps, their thighs, is not muscular or lean enough. So they continue to go to the gym again and again, no matter what.
I started going to therapy twice a week. It helped a lot. You know, the counselor was great. The doctor gave me the tools and the guidance that I needed. You know, he was explaining to me that when I was binge eating myself to solve my problems, I was just creating more for myself down the road. So he started to give me some more tips that I could use to handle my stress. For the first time in my life, I had someone on my side. You know, I came to the realization that my roommate was just looking out for me. You know, and I am so thankful that he did that. I can say I'm on the road to recovery. I slip up, but my counselor knows that, and he's okay with that. He knows that I'm on the path to recovery. He knows that I'm trying. I know that I'm trying, and that's what counts.
I have lost a tremendous amount of weight, and I'm proud of myself for that. I think I'm gonna just keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, besides the bad breath, I'm just fine. I guess I just have to switch mouthwash to take care of that problem. I mean, people teased me when I was fat, and now they tease me when I was skinny. That's not me. This is people that's judging me with the problem. I'm perfectly fine.
After that last doctor's visit, I stopped waking up super early to do push-ups. I actually got to enjoy myself at Thanksgiving because, that's the holiday that followed my recovery. I got to eat lots of goodies and cookies and treats just so I could gain weight back and never have to be that thin ever again. I actually became really happy in my body and I felt positive in my own skin. And I mean, now I eat really well and I exercise, when I can and try to take care of myself. So my name is Sam, and that was actually my story. And I am the person I am today because of that story. However, never ever again will I ever relive that story ever again.
Some ways to help a friend. For sure, be non-judgmental when you confront them. Let them know that you're always here for them. Maybe, if the time's right, refer them someplace else because this is a big issue and it may be a lot on one person. We have a lot of great resources here on campus that can be utilized.
As Aaron said, there are multiple resources you can use on campus if you or a friend are affected by an eating or body image disorder. There's of course the Brady Health Center, which is between Allen and Zowers Hall in the Upper Quad. And then there's Sand Spring Hall, which is down by the CAF, and it has the FSU Counseling Center and the SAFE office, which is the BURG Peer Education Network headquarters.
Up here we have some additional information for everyone. You guys can write this down or come up to us after. We would be more than happy to discuss it with you. I just wanted to say I really appreciate everyone coming out tonight. I know we all do. And we also have a table over here with some incentives that feel free to grab after. Thank you so much for everyone coming tonight and have a great night.